Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Mike Francesa podcast on this Thursday evening into Friday morning. The first day of spring will come your way in a couple of hours, so that'll be nice after the winter we've had. Um, Obviously, as always, the podcast is part of the Bet Rivers Network. Now, there's one game that's still close, um, and that's Gonzaga struggling with Kennesaw. Uh, we'll keep an eye on that. Houston's rolling. St. Louis rolling, Illinois rolled. We'll do a quick review of today's proceedings. Then we'll get to what Friday looks like. That'll get you ready for tomorrow, and then we'll be back tomorrow night, and we'll have the field down for the Saturday Sunday matchups. 8 games Saturday, 8 games Sunday. Let me tell you this already: the Saturday matchups are about as unappealing as any I can remember. I don't like. There's not one of those games on Saturday that I say, "Wow, I can't miss that game." Not one. But we'll get to that late tomorrow. Now, as far as today went, you got a couple of 11s win, but remember the 11s that won were both very slight underdogs because of what was going on. Texas comes out of the play-in with a guy who does well in the tournament, Sean Miller. A lot of people like Texas. I like Texas. BYU has not been the same since the injury. Obviously, we had Debansa, who tonight had 35 points and 10 rebounds, even though he turned the ball over and forced some issues and missed a lot of threes. He's a brilliant player. Um, Texas wins. The Everybody in the world liked VCU against Carolina because of the Carolina injury. But here's the deal: Carolina opens a 19-point lead and then gives the game away. And critical turnovers in the last couple of minutes, and then try to bang the ball off the backboard, not knowing the rule. Listen, I'm not getting on the kid, but somebody on that bench has got to tell him you can't just bang it off the backboard. So, just a disaster finish for Carolina. Big win for Phil Martelli Jr. I don't want to say it's going to launch him yet because this is his first year at VCU, but he's an up and coming guy. He's going to get a bigger job. Um, he's a rising star. His dad was obviously an engaging guy and a good coach. Um, that's a big win for VCU. The ones, Michigan puts up 100, but they weren't impressive because they were lazy on defense. They coasted in the game. They played a lackluster first half. They dominated in the paint in the second half. They put up 100 points. They still didn't come near covering the point spread because the point spread was 32 points, which I told you was way too many. It just is. Uh, Now, I also thought Illinois was too many at 25.5, and it wasn't because for some reason, I mean, listen, we know Penn and Illinois are in different leagues, but for some reason, Penn decided they were going to run and gun all night with Illinois, which I didn't understand. They're only down 10 at half, and they didn't shoot the ball at all in the first half. And they're down 40-30. And I thought, tempo the game in the second half, spread it out, slow it down. You might stay in the game. They came out and got run out of the building in the second half to wind up losing by 35. So, and that game was a 20-point game with 9 minutes to go. And then Illinois just drubbed them out of the building and basically played their starters to the last 2 minutes. Um, so they win big and they get VCU. Houston's winning big as expected. St. Louis in the 8-9 game is pounding Georgia. And then earlier today, you had some games where, before I get to the Duke game, which was classic. I mean, it made the day, absolutely made the day. I mean, the TCU game was a good game, last second shot. The VCU comeback was terrific, although Carolina sure helped. But the Duke Sienna game is what you hook into. That's the tournament, and we'll get to that in a minute. Um, Arkansas, start to finish, good night to lights. Michigan State, start to finish, good night, the lights. Nebraska, after about 5 minutes in the game, good night, the lights. Go on to a 30-point win, finally win an NCAA tournament game. Nebraska, Vandy. Vandy struggled with McNeese and then put him away in the second half, won by double digits. Uh, Surprising game how easy it was for A&M. I didn't like A&M very much. I didn't like St. Mary's at all. So I didn't have any real opinion on the game, but I was surprised at how easy Texas A&M won it. They jumped out early and never looked back. So they win. They'll get Houston now in the next game. Gonzaga right now is the game of issue, and I guess you would call that an upset alert because right now they're struggling. Let me see where they are right now. They're up 6 with 10 minutes. There's still 10 minutes to play. They're up 6. Now, the Duke Sienna game. Hey, this is a 71-65 game. But give Sienna so much credit. They didn't play well. They played Duke off their feet in the first half. They took it right to them. They outplayed them. They outplayed them on the backboards. They beat the heck out of them. They opened up a 13-point lead. I mean, they played sensationally and led for most of this game. And let's be honest, it took Duke like 10 tries to get past them. And if Duke didn't kill them on the foul line, where Duke scores 18 to 21 and they shoot 6 free throws. Now, you knew they're going to get the whistle. You know, Booz is going to go to the basket. Um, and the two Boozes, Boozer gets 22, his brother gets 19, and had a lot of big shots. Uh, the bottom line is they win by 6. They are life and death. Now, Sienna's playing this game for the most part until the last seconds with 5 guys, which is unheard of. No team had done that since the 70s, okay, since the late 70s. These guys, I understand there's a lot of time, there's a lot of breaks in the game. The half times are longer. There's a lot of reasons why you can not have to play more than 7 guys. They played 5 guys against a superior team, a team that's the favorite to win the whole thing, even though they're a little banged up. Doty was great in the first half. He was starting off in the second half, and here's what I said at halftime. Doty had 16 at halftime, and he was sensational. I said if he gets more than 20, Sienna's going to be in this game all the way. He was on his way, and then he got tangled up, and I don't want to say he completely sprained his ankle, but he definitely turned his ankle. It definitely affected him. He wound up with 21. He didn't shoot the ball well after that. He wound up going 3 for 12 from 3. They went ice cold and were exhausted the last 5 minutes. They were on fumes. So Duke was able to tempo the last 3 minutes of the game, take a big breath, get it up 1, up 2, up 4, up 6, up 4, up 6, and get out of there with a win. But I give Shia credit because he said McNamara outcoached me. That's what you love about the early days of the tournament, is a team like Sienna that came to play against one of the giants and gave them everything they could want. Duke was life and death to win that game. They were all out to win that game. They didn't coast. They didn't toy with them. Now, their defense was atrocious in the first half, the worst half of defense I've seen Duke play in years. But I got to give Sienna a lot of credit for that. They did a great job. And their kids had a fiery attitude, and they were intense, and they competed, and they made shots, and they did a great job on both ends of the floor. They out-rebounded them. I thought for the game, Sienna played absolutely brilliantly. I tell you, you couldn't have done a better job. Now, I don't know if Syracuse is considering McNamara. The South Florida coach has already turned Syracuse down. I don't know. I know they were flirting with another guy. I don't know if he's turned the job down yet. I don't know if they're really interested in McNamara or not. He's a favorite son, obviously. Um, he had a big day today. Even in the loss, he was a winner. His team was a winner. He was a winner. That's the kind of game where when Sienna leaves the floor, you give him a standing ovation. That's how good that performance was. And I couldn't take my eyes off that game from the middle of the first half. From when they went up 22-16 to when the game ended, I couldn't take my eyes off that game. That's how good that game was. That game made the first round. There were a couple of the moments here and there, like I said. But some of the games were complete blowouts. Some of the games weren't that exciting. The bottom line, that's always what you're going to get. You got your 12-5. High Point beats Wisconsin. I was surprised, and I don't like how Wisconsin played the end of the game. I thought Wisconsin played like they could take High Point at any point. And then next thing you know, they found themselves in a tight game. And they were like, whoa, wait a second here. And then they're up 4 late. And then they hit a 3. And then they go to the basket and they get the ball blocked, and the kid gets a run out, makes his only 2 of the year. I'm sure you've seen that highlight by now. They've done it 100 times. The kid is a 3-point specialist. He made it 2. It was the only 2 he made all year. Okay. And then Boyd, who's a really good offensive player, acted like he could take them off the dribble anytime he wanted to score the winning basket, except one thing. I don't like when guards in the final 10 seconds of these games take the ball all the way to the big, because there's a very good chance they're going to block the shot. And that's exactly what happened. I'd rather they make their move, go up, take the pull up, and try and win it with the short jumper. Don't let the big don't go all the way to the big and give them a chance. I saw that a couple of times today where guys went in late, and every time the big blocked the ball. And remember, they're not going to give you a whistle at the end of the game like that. They're going to say, we're going to let it play out. So I don't like when these guys drive the ball right to the body of the big in those spots. And Boyd, who's really a terrific player and had a really good game, I mean, he acted like he could do it anytime he wanted. And we know Wisconsin's a very confident offensive team in their sets. But I thought the way they played that game was a little frivolous. I think they felt we can get anything we want offensively, and High Point can't match us. Well, High Point did match it. Now, they had been 0 for 57 against Power 4 conferences. Not anymore. Now they're 1 in 57. So good for that. And a good win for them. So there's your 12-5. All right. Now, let me update you again on the one game that's going on. St. Louis, let's see if they've gone final. St. Louis is at 100 with a minute to play. Houston's coasting. Vandy has now Gonzaga's now opened up a 13-point lead, okay, with 7 minutes to play. So they're moving on. Like I said, the Saturday matchups, not good. From a TV standpoint, terrible matchups. The Sundays are going to be much better. The Saturdays, I don't love them. Don't love them at all. We'll get to that tomorrow night. Now, tomorrow, here's what you have to look forward to. If you're going to work, if you're not going to work, if you don't get home if the tournament doesn't start for you till tomorrow night, well, then you got St. John's at 7:00 tomorrow night on CBS. Okay. I'll get to St. John's in a second. Let me run through tomorrow's schedule for you and give you the odds, and then we will have a couple of quick thoughts and bid you adieu for the evening. Now, tomorrow, these are the Bet Rivers odds. I'll mention a couple of teams and what they are to win well, you can't bet the whole thing now because it's started. So it's over with. Okay, now it opens 12:15 with Kentucky against Santa Clara. Kentucky's a 3.5-point favorite. You know they're not at 100%. They've got a lot of stuff going on. They have not played well. They're still proud because they're Kentucky, but Herb Sendick is a very good coach. He's a very experienced coach. I would not be surprised Santa Clara gives them an absolute fit tomorrow in that first game. Texas Tech, Akron, 12-5 with Texas Tech, obviously without their best player. Limited. That league looks very strong. Now, Akron, dangerous. Dangerous game. Probably go right to the wire. Texas Tech's a 7-point favorite. Arizona's a 30-point favorite over LIU. Fins up. You'll see all that stuff tomorrow. LIU, for you LIU fans out here, 135. They get to play a powerhouse in 30-point favorite Arizona. 150, third seeded Virginia is an 18-point favorite against Wright State. 250, Iowa State is a 24-point favorite over Tennessee State. That shouldn't be that hard. Alabama, which has its issues, goes up against Hofstra. 4-13 game. Alabama's an 11.5-point favorite. That's at 3 o'clock. So LIU is playing Arizona at 1:30, and Hofstra's playing Alabama at 3:15. Villanova, for you Nova fans, are playing Utah State in the 8-9 game. Utah State's a 1.5 favorite. It's a toss-up game. Tomorrow, that game's at 4:10. Tennessee plays Miami of Ohio, who are going to go out there, play a very physical Tennessee team. Tennessee's a 11.5-point favorite, but I'll tell you, you got to like what you see. Now, Tennessee's they're a really physical, get in your face, get in your shirt defensive team. But you have to love how Miami, Ohio runs that offense. And you had to love what you saw the other night. I'll be fascinated to see them play. I'm very much into that game. 4:25 tomorrow. It's the hidden game, but it's a really good game. Now, tomorrow night, it opens at 6:50. If you're looking at all the games, Clemson, Iowa, 8-9 game. Clemson banged up. Iowa, 2.5-point favorite. 7:10, here comes St. John's. 9.5-point favorite. Went from 10.5 to 9.5 today against Northern Iowa in the 5-12 game. This is not vintage Northern Iowa. They don't shoot it great. They didn't have a great year. They are not great on the foul line. They will look to play the game where 60s max. They will not chase offensive rebounds. They will not crash the boards. They will balance the floor, which means they will have people back so that they stop running games. They want everything to be a walk it up, walk it up, walk it up, walk it up game. Obviously, that's not what St. John's wants. This game comes down to two things, and I think either way St. John's wins. If they get the tempo they want and they're not turning the ball over Northern Iowa, and St. John's is struggling from the perimeter as they pack it in, and they will pack it in. And say to St. John's, go ahead, shoot your perimeter shots. St. John's makes perimeter shots, we'll shake your hand. If St. John's struggles, I think they'll still win the game close. I think you have a better than 50-50 chance that St. John's can turn them over, can crush them on the boards. Zuby can give them fits and force double teams. That should open up the offense. St. John's defenders and the way St. John's is playing right now, I think St. John's, very motivated by what happened last year in the tournament, comes out and gives you an A effort tomorrow and wins the game. And I think 60-70% wins it by double digits. Okay? I do not think St. John's gets beat by this team. And I don't think this team's a vintage team. UCLA banged up. Otherwise, they'd be very dangerous against Central Florida. Not an easy game. 7-10 game, not an easy game. St. John's, UCLA 5-point favorite. Florida, 35.5-point favorite over Prairie View. Now, Prairie View is the lowest ranked team, as you can gather, in this tournament. But 35.5 points is a bundle. Now, Kansas against Cal Baptist. St. John's fans are going to have a big eye on Kansas. Kansas 14.5-point favorite. You got to figure they're going to beat Cal Baptist. I don't know Cal Baptist. I'll be the first to admit it. Then UConn against Furman. UConn's a 20-point favorite, and then Miami and Missouri in the 7-10 game. Miami's a 1-point favorite over Missouri in the 7-10 game. That's tomorrow. St. John's at 7 o'clock. Nova is playing out west. LIU is playing out west. St. John's is playing out west. Okay. Hofstra's playing Alabama. You got the New York teams tomorrow. All right. A couple of them in the afternoon. St. John's at 7:10 tomorrow night on CBS. 7:10. St. John's wins, most likely waiting in the wings will be Kansas in San Diego. The crowd will be more Kansas. They'll travel far better than St. John's will. That's just they travel really well. That's the way it is. I think St. John's gets off well here. We will be with you tomorrow night after the games. Now, as far as tomorrow goes, I like St. John's. I told you I think Santa Clara has a good chance as a 3.5 or a 4 point. I've seen both underdog. I think they can play that game really close. I think they can win it. Villanova, I'm a little worried about because they're banged up. I think that game could go either way. I'll be fascinated to see Miami of Ohio. I love the way they ran their offense the other day. And, a couple of these teams today that went out there and launched 43s. High Point today went out and launched 43s in that victory against Wisconsin. They were 15 of 40. 15 of 40. The other night, Miami of Ohio shot over 43s in that game. These teams want to go and they want to run and go, but they run their offenses really well. They move their players, they run them, and all their guys can shoot, and they are confident, really confident 3-point shooters. A couple of teams that look good today. Michigan State rolled. Arkansas rolled. You got Arkansas is extremely, extremely physically talented. And their point guard, you're hearing a lot about a lot of players in this tournament. Their point guard, who I think will be probably picked in the top. It's a great draft. Great draft. It might be one of the great freshman drafts of all time. Okay? In terms of these guys going into the NBA off 1 year. I think he will be drafted in the top 4 players in the NBA. And I think he could go off for 40 in any game in this tournament. He coasted today and put up 24 points. Coasted. And he is extremely. They were making comparisons today to Allen Iverson. That's an incredible comparison. There are very few players more talented for his size than Allen Iverson. That is a great compliment. It really is. He is and John's got a lot of you look at them and you just, oh, man, they can shoot. They can attack the rim. They can bounce. They have hops. They have athletes on athletes on athletes. They got a good squad. Now, they could be inconsistent, I'm sure. And Calipari teams usually are inconsistent in the tournament. But you know one thing, they can beat anybody. And I think they're going to beat High Point, and then they're going to play Arkansas. And I think Arkansas will wear them down because of who they are and how they're built. But that's going to be a heck of a game. And, Arizona can match up with Arkansas. Arkansas can match up with Arizona physically. I don't think they'll beat them. But they're dangerous. They are really dangerous. Let me give you one update on Gonzaga just to see, because that was the only game left that had, that wasn't completely decided. Gonzaga is St. Louis scored 100 points, wow, against Georgia. They just ran Georgia right out of the building. The final score was 102-77. Um, Houston won by 31 against Idaho, and Gonzaga is up 9 with 3 minutes left. So Houston rolled, as you would expect. I thought Houston, of the 2s and 3s playing today, I thought Houston was the soundest team to bury it. You know, Michigan State buried people, I mentioned Arkansas burying Hawaii, but I thought Houston was the most likely team out there to bury somebody, because the Idaho League is not a league that plays well in the NCAA tournament. Now, the Ivy had covered 10 of the last 13 appearances into the NCAA tournament. They didn't today. I just was very surprised that he played the pace he played. Very surprised. I mean, he was freewheeling. They took a million threes. They just missed them. I mean, they went up and down the entire game. They never tried to tempo the game, even though they were only down 10 at half. They got run out of the building in the last 20. Really, the last 7 minutes, they got run completely out of the building. And, a bunch of teams scored 100 today. Illinois scored 100. Michigan scored 100. St. Louis scored 100. That's a lot of teams getting 100. Really is. Louisville won today. They held on for dear life against South Florida, and they were in at full strength. And, Nebraska, a lot of people were picking Troy. Nebraska buried Troy. They beat them by 30. Beat them by 30. And I think they shot the three pretty well today also, which Nebraska likes to do. They were 14 of 39. Again, you got a lot of these teams now hoisting up in college games. They're hoisting up 43s in 40 minutes. That game, there was 67 threes shot in that game. That's a lot of threes. 67 threes. The Wisconsin game, there were 63. I believe 63 shot in the Wisconsin High Point game. Amazing how many threes are being shot in these games. And hey, Miami Ohio came in the other night. If you watch the coach before the game, say, hey, we're shooting over 43s tonight. You can take it to the bank. That's our goal. We're shooting more than 43s. So one day down, a really classic performance by a 16 seed in Sienna. Kudos to them. Duke was all out. A couple of surprises. I'd say High Point's your biggest surprise. Nobody was surprised by VCU. They were surprised by the comeback because Carolina had that game won. And some one-sided performances late in the evening by Houston and Illinois, etc., and St. Louis, just bombing people. Absolutely bombing people. So that's where we are after day one. Tomorrow, game two, day two. Obviously, we'll be with you after it and get ready for the Saturday and Sunday and enjoy the first day of spring. I don't think it's going to warm up until Saturday, but it sounds like it's going to warm up this weekend. And you'll be home in time for St. John's tomorrow. So, although a lot of you couldn't make the trip to San Diego, the Johnnies will be there tomorrow night at 7:10 on CBS. We'll see you later.